And this is when they were shifting names of places and bays. This here is Parawira Bay, and nothing to do with that headland. Parawira.
So this is the real Parawira.
This is the real Parawira here.
Okay.
This right here in this bay is the actual bay. Had nothing to do with jumping that name on there. They took the rock of Rohoto's rock and made out it was a rock round the corner here, and they shifted all their history to suit themselves. Why? It wasn't ignorance, it was willfully. They were going to get as the dominant trustees the biggest return. It was all to do with money.
Usually is, Perry.
And
people are corrupted.
I'm worried that we even bring Maori into it, because these as individuals is maliciously colonialism, money grabbing at all costs of their own heritage, and they'll sell out, and literally they have sold out their grandmothers and the people that have been buried here that they're connected with by destroying them. Our first interview, the very first one out at Wairake by the spiral, before we went up there, I acknowledged Gail as descendant of Hari Te Kome.
Yes.
So when we talk about the stream we're visiting to, it's I left something on some words for you.
Can you read it, Jeffrey?
And you read it out.
This is about Kirio Hinekai stream. Hare Te Kume cultivated potatoes there and also had a weir in one of the streams at Te Kirihinekai. There was a plantation at Te Apunga. Cultivation at the mouth of Kirio Hinekai. A kokopu fishery was also at the mouth. One of the tupuna there is Te Mātara Kutia, which is by Kirio Hinekai. Question mark about Te Kirio Hinekai and Pirorerou. O-U. P-I-R-O-R-E-R-O-U, which is where Kokowai was obtained. So this might be the ancient names of some warriors
I
there.
referred that to years.
There was also a great feast at Rangatira. All the tribes assembled during the time of Te Poko, who died at Kirio Hinekai and is buried at Pōkuru. Tu Korehu says he died at Pōkuru and not on the land of Kirite or Hinekai. There is an old landmark in the form of a stone to the south of Kirio Hinekai. Its name is Te Pou o Te Rangihirawea. Te Pou o Te Rangihirawea. The Kirio Hinekai stream is named after an ancestor called Hinekai.
Hinekaipo or Hinekai? Sorry.
Hinekai, I'm reading what's read, I'm reading. Whairake stream. Rurupuku, the eldest child of Te Rangihiroa, the elder, married Whairake of Ngāti Maniapoto, and when she came to live here, the stream was called Whairake in her honour. That's a good bit of knowledge.
Seeing the reed books of my place names have got a literal thing that Wairake was named after the Queen's name. Now this is, as I say, everything's brief, but then you're getting some names that you're starting to be familiar with, and that comes into the whakapapa, and the whakapapa for individual things start all connecting. And this is where people with families and that today have got still a massive disconnect, because they cannot relate to the old histories of where they're connected now in the limited awards that the courts gave them. Most important though,
Yes.
Maniapoto woman, Wairake. That was her name, which is Maniapoto. And that shows you centuries old, still a connection with Maniapoto. Now certain groups related there had the right to come into these areas. not to occupy, but the right to still get their kukuwai and travel and come and stay with customary associations that kept the peace between the groups.
I'd also like to read this.
Now, having come from there, I just mentioned about how the area was illegally completely bulldozed out because the trustees had a grievance with one of the Ramakas who had a house there, but he shouldn't have been there in the first place because he just came and put his place there, but they did an overkill and they destroyed all the earthworks, all the pits and everything else, which I got detailed record of. But that was considered. Well, I'll let you read this. The W.S. Williams dictionary reference, but this is Whaitaima. But the bay in which the present subdivisions are appropriately called was the bay next to it, and had nothing to do with the headland. This is again the distortion that, as Clint says, they'll take a block in one bay and relocate the land in the other, and they've meddled and messed around a certain way. Important to Maori names, but inappropriate to start transferring them and putting them in their own backyard for their own political thing. You read that.
Okay, well, this is to give us a little bit of background information where we're going today. If we get there, it's to a place formerly known, or still known by some, as Otuparae. It has been renamed Paraweda for reasons Perry just explained. Para meaning burnt and weda meaning hot. O maunu, he orite ki te maunu. Has various meanings. If you take the oma unu, it means to flee, or and unu to withdraw. Maunu means bait, so a place or maunu, and maunu, a place of the grey duck. So there's various possibilities depending on where you put macrons in the word, or where you put emphasis on the word. It's incorrectly shown on the modern maps as Olmodu. You're going to have a lot of editing to do here, Taima. Headland Pa at the western side of Tapuharuru Bay. The earliest occupation in the area is a multi-period site. This was a well-situated pa, and settlement was subject to late 19th century modification and late use. It supported a smaller population but reflects a long, if intermittent use. Hut sites up to the point. Submerged palisade stumps, pits in the sides of the terraces and to the rear of this pa. A large wharepuni called Otumuheke was built there. Kai Paua, also spelt Kapawa, built the Omaunu Pa. He died at Whakaipo, where his cultivation was. His son Te Kamu was born and died at Omaunu. The pa was rebuilt by Poihipi Tukairangi's father Te Pahi in the early part of the 19th century. Te Pahi lived and is buried there. There is a large urupa at Omaunu. In the time of the war, all the hapu assembled at Omaunu for protection. That's how they came to be there. They came from Otuhonga. This was from Omaunu that they sent word to Hape to come. Is that where Te Hape Bay comes from? Yes. Omaunu Pa belonged to Ngāti Rauhoto, Ngāti Ohomairangi, Ngāti Te Ao Karere and Ngāti Te Urunga. And this is from the period 1894 onwards. And that's what is written.
Now this is connecting soil cultivations we're going to here, but their main cultivations are referred to anciently at Whakaipo. So you see the groups their breadbasket was whakaepo. And another thing is Kapawa is gives you a setting when he occupied and was using the cultivations at Whaikaiko. It starts giving you a timeline, and the timeline you start getting into the whakapapa, and the whakapapa that was given way back about 140 years ago connects with Kapawa and other principles. So these names of these places. So how can someone who's doing a report at the what they call Parawira at
Parai.
say that it was just a recent thing, missionaries came, and this is a distortion, the colonial rewriting, and they're just as active, the princes and others are just as active in distorting the histories and that, and throwing out all this in one sweep of the basket. That's why our record keeping and the places are relevant, and I often mention about how the whakapapa and the people will connect far and wide, and so this is our little journey today.
Rolling.
Okay, key things, vegetation. Here we've got lupin, we've got blackberry, everything else. This is where it was marked for the trustees and everyone else at the Parawira development, no-go zone. They took heavy machinery in, they destroyed the house that was here because they had a grievance where they took issue with an owner, destroyed that. That wasn't enough. So we got this great swathe coming down, the heavy machines from development came over here and levelled everything, destroyed the old pā, the earthworks and that were right from the beginning. And this is the area where Puhipi's father was buried, among others. That's the tapu area I said for taking by canoe all the way down from just by the Hooker Falls Reed Farm area. And by bringing them up here, and he was buried, this in history, and that means nothing to developers. It would a foreigner, a non-New Zealander, would have more concern and consideration than what's happening now. Now we turn around here, and up on the hill, we've got excluded a good 100 metres or so away, the pine trees. This was by agreement. This area was so sensitive that they kept the trees well away from this whole area. Now what was the use of that if the next thing they're going to destroy the very things they're supposed to be protecting? You see how the problems become? But on this road we've got some features here which we pointed out. Now in recent years,
Hey, come.
Recent years, a surveyor came to me and he said, look, the chairman wants to exclude this and survey off, and this is such a place. And he said, I'm just calling on you, Perry, as a courtesy thing. And I said, where? And so I got him out here, and they had everything in the wrong place because trustees and that will not communicate. They only do a paperwork, and they were going to put aside something in the wrong place. So I went with him, and we went up the road and came in and showed him correctly where it is. So you can be protecting nothing here. There are rocks in that here, in the road. Does that mark off anything in the road here?
Stay close.
So why has this been made here, this little wall? What's the purpose of it?
Well, when this road came here,
Do you have a lead, Jeffrey?
I took photos with the old road of exposed ovens and pits on toward the left side of this white line.
Come here, it's all right. Come here, it's all right.
I took photos, and so when the people doing the road and the engineers,
Come this way. Come this way.
I was with the engineers for the roading people. Dirt road. We had maps on the pumice road.
Here's another one.
Just laid out on the road.
Oh, there's another one.
So what was the purpose of this wall?
These came way out here. I've got photos of exposed ovens and pits and everything as the old road went through, as sensitive things. The purpose here was, when the people were doing the road, I stood with them.
Here comes a car.
I stood with the Maori workers. They
Here's another one.
Where are all the cars?
Yeah, if we can just talk from here, Perry, it'll be better.
They could not get or hire local Maori with doing the roadworks. They got Maori from a Putiki and out of the district. Rely on ignorant Maori to go through things under our direction. Mm-hmm. So I went to same Maori groups. I took them here and I pointed out here exactly, not the meter, not the conjecture, their burials here.
Holy cow, is that why that stone wall is there?
That's exactly right.
Oh,
Then when they started doing the roadworks, they were supposed to contact me on a progressive thing. I got my telescope out and saw one evening the machines had come through here. So I came over here, saw the bones scattered on the ground, exactly to the point, not the generalisation of some mad trustee, oh, there's a burial somewhere, a grandmother on the block, and she had the wrong block anyway. I was precise to the metre where the bones were and the burials were. And so I came up and I put a rohui up, and then I went and called on a dock person who was living at Acacia Bay Road, Wakeman Road, and I said, look, I won't be able to come here at 7 in the morning, I've got work, but could you be out at 7 in the morning and stop the workers? They've gone through and they're told this was to be monitored. And one of the trustees who were going to get big money was supposed to be on this as well. And so the result of that was, he came out, I think he came out 7:30, and there was no one here. The Maori came, saw my rahui post I'd set up, and we took the machines and that and straight back to Acacia Bay, and they refused to come here, and that got held up. And it was only 7 months later, 3 months the contractors now had to walk out of the thing. They put a whole rahui on this road, restriction extended to the road, right from down there past Clint's and right up to Acacia Bay. They put a restriction on the whole lot. And so it was 7 months later we got that sorted out. The same day we went to Mariah and that, and we had that cleared, and that's why this has come back, and so that marks that place of burial. So everything's got a story, but it was the bones coming up. Another instance that caused all that problem when.
So where do we get in to go to these kumara pits, just to move on from that Sari? These are all sad tales you're telling me.
No, this is all
it's a record
ongoing
keeping
thing. Nothing's going to change while it's still got that thinking between chairman, trustees, non-communication with the people, and the way they can go and manipulate people by hiring people from other districts when all the local Maori workers will say no to it. So this is an ongoing thing that we've got. That's all fenced now. But with the road widening, I put tapes across and say don't go past here. So when the machine did the widening, they came within 3 or 4 centimetres of my tapes. They were so exact, wanting to get the road straightened. Was this to benefit Maori? No, it was to prevent, it was with the sales and entice the people to buying the new subdivision up the point. Wealthy people buying in land lots. Wasn't to service the Maori and the goodwill of the Maori, was for the subdividers at the point here.
So where we're going now, this is part of the Ponui Paa complex.
No, Ponui Paa is way on that hill in the distance.
Then what gave them the reason? Because there were cultivations. Is that the reason that they put
Look, there are burials, bones up and down the road. This is a report I just gave you. Massive ancient burial grounds right through here. That's why we got the pines put way at the back. Extension. We got Kupawa as the first person who had cultivations, who died at Whaikaima. It was cultivations, but his descendant was Puihipi's father, who rebuilt the power here 200 years later, and it was him that's buried here too. Come in here. I think I took a survey up here. The person that dug all the bones up in the pits over in the Parawira, machine chap, I took him here. I wasn't allowed there. Prince wouldn't see me. None of the people would have me on that land. And so when I took him as the operator, after he unearthed bones and that in the pits there, he said to me, I showed him this as an example, he said, Perry, he said, if you'd only been here and told us, we would have known exactly what we were looking for. So it's not a matter of communication, is it? Or lack of it.
Well, no, you were willfully excluded in there because of the agendas of the trustees. That's pretty apparent.
I've got photos of old posts and everything coming all the way through here.
Where are we going in?
We're going in. Hey John, you take the way in, John. Okay.
This way, come back, come back. He's a bit freaked out because we're just getting a bit elevated and annoyed.
We're missing it over here.
Yes, our dog's quite sensitive to anger because he's been subject to, not that being directed at him, but around him. Ah.
Holy cow.
Now that ground plan I left you,
Yes, did we bring it? No.
give way out of the pits.
That was really... So this is one of the interconnected ones?
This is one of the pits, the interconnected ones of 4 in a row.
Yes, this looks fairly filled in. Okay, neck.
Stay close, boy.
but as you know, attitudes do change over time, and what are important to people in one generation doesn't necessarily stay that way.
That's why reservations used to be made. Not relying on what's ongoing protection.
Yes.
You're going to have to grab the dog because he just runs straight out into the middle of the road. Come here, boy.
Yeah. That was me.
So you used your camera, did you?
Yeah.
Great, great. Good on you, Free.
There's a lot here. Mind you, I reckon that whole headland with the features and that, and dividing the headland was a row of pits from one side to the other, to the beach, and I want that as a protected educational reserve.
But that's now Paraweta, eh?
Oh yes, but then they could have had, if they listened to me, they would have had good return, the shareholders have been benefiting and everything else. Now they're giving away sections to their mates, and the damage is done. And because they had an issue with one person, they destroyed everything with big machines all down here. The Paraweta settlement area is all flattened.
Paraweta
And
settlement.
all this over here. I've got photos with Clint's brother standing out there, and others. We're doing good progress today.
Yes, I agree.
There was we just come through what I now recall might have been part of a defensive area,
Yes,
earthwork here,
yes.
and there's a big ditching area, big ditch on side, but it's not as a defensive one. It could have been big ovens, things, and all this modified. We've got some excellent cross-sectional photos of ovens that were exposed here. And I did detail measurements from that point, but no ground plan that I recall. And Jeffrey realises that for all that, nothing's been done. Big fuss, song and dance, laying restrictions and everything.
Move over.
Because they want to take that whole corner out.
The features themselves are left neglected.
And the ones on the other side, the whole paa and all its history and burial places, have all been levelled. What for? It wasn't for development or housing or anything. It was just for an issue they had over one of the rimikas that were there. So we're not interested, but destroy everything, and no one will benefit.
This is such a busy road.
The dog's a bit reluctant.
Jeffrey's a bit testy today.
Jeffrey.
So one time there would have been great things to show you, pits and that. What's happened is that the earliest one, Kapawa's time, where he had his cultivations at Whaitaima Bay, was at the small settlement there. Then they had cultivations behind it, and they had burials to where we are standing. Then later, 200 years later, in Hippie's father's time, they then reoccupied the paa, and the large population extended out to where we're looking at the extended earthworks and positions now. Because up to here you'd get ovens and little areas all over the place coming back. So he had that all worked out. So again, a multi-period of values of the past. And so one time, the older pits were so old. Now Jeffrey sees now there's quite a build-up, isn't there, from when I was measuring, with just humus and that. Well, you expect after 40 years, I suppose. In the past, you may not have had that same thing because it would be constantly kept cleared by different people and the occupations and their use of the land. But with that, the pits were so old that they were filled up and as solid as the ground we were on, and they were exposed by the roads that came through and the odd burial. And I think I recall on the road sitting a little small stone adze that was so worn out, it was just blunt worn down. But I know up the road, they behind that point coming down behind Parawira there, they picked up years ago, people picked up basaltic adzes, but they went up Auckland Museum or something, so we got no proper record of the context. Again, context is everything. The very old adze came with a few bones in one of those pits that are now exposed here, and possibly placed with the deceased or left there. So now we're good light, getting a bit of warmth from the sun.
Yes.
And
Where to next? Where to from here?
well, down there you've got the Ponui Paa, and coming back this side there are pits and earthworks, and that's when I had an undertaking by a chairman, who at the roadside discussions with the people on machines, they were after pine wildlings at the time, and that they wouldn't take a machine or anything up there. A couple of days later, the machine was working that area, and when I looked for the digger, he'd come down the road, he'd come down here to put an access thing so they could put that little house or that batch in. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "But what you've done up there?" He said, "When we met, I know what was said, but as soon as you left, the chairman said, I don't care what was said and agreed to, I'm your boss, you go up, take the machine up." Do you want to say hello round there if we're going to venture? Because
Yes.
could leave the vehicle and either attempt to walk, or else we'll do a ground plan. But before that, on the level, we've got features that that machine managed to avoid.
At Ponui, or just down here?
If we go in the long side, we've got a long scarp going up before we got to the ditches, but coming down on a lower level, you've got some pits and earthworks which are interesting themselves.
So we can walk.
No, not extending out.
Wow. So that's all marked off. I mean, that's all. No one knows where that spring is.
Oh, well, I do. But
How far in is it? Because it's historic, isn't it? It's a historic feature.
everything you're walking on is historic.
Oh, it's historic for whom it's named after. Well, I didn't mean to distract us from our purpose. I just thought it was close by.
Well, there's some the road I was trying to get put to one side. Let's say by time of looking down, this becomes more obvious. Modified a bit of a lift. You can see all these stones out of place. Hard rock. They don't belong here. I've been And we're very close here. And,
Good boy.
There's been some big trees cut down here.
that's what's a part of the thing. They wanted to salvage them with a machine, and I wouldn't let them. They cut them, you know,
Yes.
but they wanted to use roads and that through to haul and salvage the wood.
Oh wow, look at this.
So this is the area where you see, I know I said, well look at that earthwork here, Jeffrey,
Yes,
where dog is.
yes, that's what I say.
Yes.
It goes all the way along here.
Now if you look to one side, it's all been cut out.
Yes. And things put in the bank here, you know,
See a big rock there,
Right
marking
where I'm
another
standing.
level.
Right, we're on.
That's a pit here. See what I mean by the older pits being filled in over time completely until you get to the point that you're walking on them.
Wow.
And these areas here. Oh, wow, look at this.
Marked with a rock.
Marked with a rock. See my timer? This rock would have had its name and named after the person whose direct
Oh wow.
use of this would have been exclusively for that person for using.
Wow. You gonna jump in, Jeffrey?
Yes.
Hey, maybe sometime. So what do you think of features?
Well, I'm glad we had something to eat, because my stomach was sick, feeling so sick before. How far in does it go?
Not very far, just about a metre, really.
Wow.
Although,
Wow. Dead bird.
What do you think of significance though?
Yes.
Only big rock was carried here, rolled here, put there, because it's not a scatter everywhere, exclusively against the pit.
Maybe they made the pit where the rock was.
Or
Might be.
they rolled the pit marker here, but they could have well used that to do it, to exclusively claim the
Yes, yes.
storage use there. Good, eh?
Fabulous.
So we're getting things away from the scientific, archaeological, cold clinical ground planning of pit here, pit there, and where we look at association. And the big earthwork behind us, and on the other side where dog was, and is there a pit on the other side here?
Oh, look, there it is there. God.
It's almost like this was a little shell in here. Very out of the weather. Very particular. There's more than one. Yeah.
Who let the blackberry in?
That would be.
All this flat area has been dug out, tanks artificial, and then pits put on the side.
Bank's artificial.
All this has been,
Yes.
this would have been, we've been walking on the soil,
Yes.
this has been cleared, scooped out.
Yes.
Now the old time people put 30 acres in reserve. More recent chairman, how ridiculous. We'll put 700 square metres in for burial. What on earth are they thinking putting in a reserve? These were to protect these places. Now why do people ignore the reserves that were laid down by the old people because it's not convenient for them?
I'll say this could be prime real estate, Perry. Look at the views.
All the archaeologists come up with is just pits on open ground on farmland.
Because they don't come into the bush, huh?
I was just going to say, Jeffrey,
Yeah.
go out on the left and up here, up and around. And yet they talk about going to their cultivations up the Kaipo. So let's see how high we are up above the road.
Yes. Oh, Jeffrey's finding them everywhere. Yeah, that's it.
Jeffrey's only looking at the outline.
Ow.
Also clearing the ground,
Yep,
raised earthwork, part of a defensive system as well.
yep.
So all this has been put up, Jeffrey, made up,
Modified.
raised.
Wow.
So this must be a little bit like at Motutere, where there were pits. You showed us half a dozen or so, but you said they were right around the circumference of that hill.
Well, they extend right round the corner. And look, all this is artificial. All that's been cleared out there. And you're almost getting a defensive system or fenced off system. And a lot of work.
A lot of work.
You see my concern when they wanted me to go willy-nilly in the havoc I've seen them did in the past. I was concerned about, yes, get rid of the wildlings, but don't take machines in just to get the timber out. It's like all the women that come through my door.
Yes, they are a distraction.
They tend to go straight through here.
Thank you.
Just when you start on things like this, to see like the other ones, take everything in and then just walk.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things is when you get 1 and 2 pits, it indicates a occupation or a bit of permanency of a place.
Yeah.
People with just one garden harvesting never left pits or any sign as they're coming. When you start getting these up and down, right through end to end, it's generations of occupation.
Yes.
But to read the reports, commission reports, paid reports done by these people, and they trivialise, make out, oh, nothing came before the benign benefits the white man brought with him. There was nothing before that.
Why would there be a clearing here? Why hasn't it regenerated?
What they did when we had a fire, the fire people put a quick access thing through. Here's a pit down there, and
I've lost count of how many we've come across now.
Yeah.
It must be more than
Can you do so, Jeffrey? Before you take a picture inside the pit, can you take a picture around it?
Yep.
And then I've got something to work with. Otherwise, it's just all going to be
holes in the ground.
holes somewhere.
Looks like there was something here too.
Yes, okay, there's
There's one here. No, I don't know.
It's full of holes.
you might have to just take over to get to there. Or can you get down and around? We're just above the road, are we?
I think it'd be easy to go straight from there to that. So
Go, yeah, so
I'll bash my way through. It's only a few metres.
How you going, doggy?
The feet is underneath here.
Yes.
Just here.
Yep.
There's something there.
The dog's going that way. No, he's coming back. Perry, can I give the... Oh,
You give me the camera.
just for a second. I'm stepping on my... Thank you. Thank you.
If you want to.
Oh, go ahead. Let me go first and then you can come after. You alright? You alright, Pooty? Shall I go first and step down on the blackberry?
Well, the very place that we've just come across has got features underneath it.
Oh, I wish I could get past this blackberry. Come on, dog. You gotta let me past. Can you push down the blackberry a bit more? It's just blackberry everywhere. Just... Oh. There's a hole there.
Yeah.
Here you come.
You made away? Yes.
Your camera lens has popped off. Fortunately you haven't lost it, but hang on. You have to do it. Oh, the blackberry. Hang on, wait. Oh. Thanks. Ouch. Fuck. Good on your dog. Ow.
There's a lot of pigs here.
All these.
Oh, there's something.
Down like trails.
All these are centuries of made soil. Volcanic carrier left us all sterile, pumice and that. And when you get about 70 centimetre layer and add 10 centimetres or so of build up, it was ideal depth for kumara planting and everything else.
Oh, they must have liked it when spuds came to old
Well,
Penrith.
spuds will just throw a few on the ground and
Up they come,
they come.
compared to the...
Now this is a big feature. We're going.
Perry, what is the name of this point we are on? Do you know? What is the name of this point?
Oh, the point is round the corner.
And what is that one called?
It's named after the burial caves.
Kaiafa.
No, Kaiafa's a mile away.
Okay.
Kaiapa's not a burial cave.
No, it's Kaiafa's the way round the headland. No, we're just well away from the north side of Ringatira Point. well up the beaches and that.
Good boy. Stay close. Can I? Can you? No.
Waitaama's fish, not a big bird to photograph. In dry ground they can be useful, interpreting the soils.
I suppose they must have rooted up the old heads and things in there.
Oh, well, that's why I found between visits a pumice container I put in the museum. When we're feeding this, how easy is that way?
What's easier? Being picking it rather than trying to stick through it.
Look how beautifully rich the soil
And
is.
the soil is amazing.
That's not ordinary tree humus. This is where I stayed with the made soils. It's been generations of working.
Oh my god, I'd love some foil garden.
Use the photo Jeffrey's got showing the interconnected pit with the light on coming up the next one.
Yes.
There does it come up there. That's the next pit with the sectional ground plan up. The other thing is, as we get to the slopes have been artificially levelled. Now the interconnected pits, the level was the same. They get about 15 degrees or so. And so it's actual great runoff for rain, heavy rain, watering the crops as well as dispersing the water. So this has all been thought out. We're talking about the old gardens and that. We're through one of the extensive systems up here. What's he saying?
I found something reasonably something.
Oh, as long as it's are we there to let's go home.
Whoa. Shit.
these big cleared areas are reminiscent of the extensive cultivations at the other end of the lake we're seeing walking over.
Because this does feel like level, eh?
It is.
Feels like in the stones, there's groupings of stones where it looks like it's just, it's them up there.
That's another thing when you get the levels and groupings. Pigs have disturbed these, but pioneer pigs have been doing this for many, ever since there's been pigs around.
Yes.
But, can assist in the interpretation of too.
Yes, they need quite a few storage pits, eh? If they've got these extensive cultivation, you've got a shitload of storage. So they were all been put in kitty and
Oh, good boy. Good boy. Thank you.
So where are we heading for? What are we?
Ponui Paa.
Where's your compass?
Oh yes, it's in my head.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
talking
then I
about.
rely on the shadows and the time of day and the bright sun. We know we're
You lead on,
keep going where
stand off, and we'll.
we tend to go.
Your orange is just brilliant. I can see you everywhere, and I look forward to us all getting orange. Because I still can't see Perry at times. He disappears into the tree.
As high as those, it's kind of low there.
Yes, it's like mine. Mine is green, which doesn't stand out at all.
Well, because this is only 20 years or 30 years of regrowth, it's quite easy to get around there.
It's had ancestors, it's all native.
So do you find the pine plantation forest harder than the irrigation?
No, I'm quite comfortable because if there's like often it's a layer of needle,
Yes.
anything else going around. Although as they get bigger though, then What?
Marijuana growers have been here.
Oh, you see the netting, do you?
Just be careful. You know, they have traps around their bushes and stuff.
No one's been here for a while.
No, I've sprung.
It's not the right time of the year.
No, I've sprung all the old traps.
Oh,
These young people won't listen to their parents, and as I said to Jeffrey, will spend hours coming and watering and cultivating, clearing out and keeping the sites clear.
so how old is this black?
What? See, unless you have time, did systematic grid plotting, you get hold up with distractions going A to B.
Yes. Grid plans.
Oh,
So this is going to help us when we get this funding and get into Parawera, right? Parekawa, sorry.
Yes. It's not part of your pies and ears. See, that's been all artificially scooped out. It'd be just rounded otherwise.
It would.
At least I can see Jeffrey now.
Yes, the orange, yes.
I'm going that way. But, dog's pulling dog.
Sure.
Thing is, when you get massive complexes like this and where they are, it sort of throws out local history, doesn't it? Because the small numbers of hapu wouldn't last 5 minutes, and a small number of hapu couldn't possibly begin to the extensive work in that it's taken place here, the earthworks and the gardens and defences.
It's cleared again. This part here.
Look at this. Hey Jeffrey. This, see a stone here? This is, if you look at that, this is fairly typical of the old time surface burial. You can disagree with me, but get the dog to have a scratch. But now you see where it's going, and that's a stone is deliberately put to stand out as a marker.
Oh, there's a much bigger marker here.
Either end. Now the Tuahu bring that out about 6 times the size, and Tuahu had actually placed stones in markers like this.
In
So
wine culture, they have those tuahu. All the stones represent different tupuna. They weren't carved, but that's how it's been explained to us. And I went, wow, that must be what like
Oh, right, there's the big
the
one on top.
Aotearoa.
see this. This is what we should GPS, which I haven't got with me because I don't like distractions. But then these are important features just to note, even though we leave here in the car. And yes, we got something here. But so it's a matter of instantly recognising.
So a lot of the superficial burials, they just place rocks over the top.
A very shallow burial scoop, and this is in the time where they're comfortable enough not to leave in cave or remove from caves and still put in the vicinity. And
I remember you pointed these out at Rangatira Point, but they were small, and you said they could be for, you know, children's burial ground.
There's
And just one on its own in isolation.
oh, they're all in isolation. It's only the modern colonial mindset that's imprinted on the Maori mind today. Or this is the ancient Maori custom. Was never, they never apart
Buried
from
them
caves,
together.
they never buried them in nice little plots and grave markers and that. But that's just something to tell me. And then the second thing I asked myself is, this has gone, all this area in the past has been cultivation, but they still have the burials and what have you. They have a terracing feature here. And what is its placement? Now, was this orientated, for instance? Are such things got the northing, southing, easting, westing orientation? So that's what you instantly think of. But Jeffrey, the thing is, why here? And like a canoe landing, we go up.
So is that what it is? It's a marker to go up.
No, it's a burial, but the
Yes,
giant
yes.
mark seed thing,
Yes,
it
yes.
more or less gets it's like a boundary mark.
Yes,
in
yes.
its isolation, but it tells you now this comes up, so we go up here.
Difficult just here.
Nothing gets easier, Jeffrey.
I'm not deterred.
Jeffrey, can you please put this thing into my backpack? I've lost one of my cords already.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
your orange one.
No, I've got my orange one. That's for the phone, but the one to recharge this.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'll find another one. But it's so you may as well put this in too. But I'm just constantly trying to recharge the gimbal and the phone.
Features, placement, mean everything. These to me are street signposts. Here we go up here. Now you're in for an interesting experience now, aren't you?
I think so.
You were saying we've had no interesting experience to this point.
No, I didn't say that.
We're pre-preparing ourselves
All right,
for the experience.
all right.
Right.
I'm prepped.
Okay.
And you haven't told us what it is, so I'm...
This dog, he doesn't get a vote. Don't think he's poor registered on there.
No, I
On the
think
wall.
he'll be...
But notice he's staying away from where you're going. He's not following, he's not leading. Oh, there he goes. Maybe he was just taking a breather.
Lead the way, dog.
So is this the big pine tree here? This is one of the big pine trees at the end of the headlands, and we're walking towards the other pine tree.
I know where I am.
Okay, good. Good.
At least one of us.
I mean, I could be hopelessly lost, but
Yes.
I know where I'm standing. But note this, and suddenly when I say the cultivations have a gradient of 15 metres, suddenly you're coming up to say 30, 40 metres, and you start the scarping.
Scarping.
And with the scarping there could be palisade posts.
Palisade posts.
Nothing at the top.
Yeah, let's stay away from the blackberry.
Might be hard, really. Some regrowth.
We'll go across, and after we're up here we'll go across and down, partly to the well factor.
double ditch.
That's the well factor.
Aha.
This is like going up Perry Park. It's all been artificial. In the past it would have been when you had a thing to hold on to. The head would have been down.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to turn this off. It's just blinking madly.
Nothing to see here. Save something for the...